Okay, so for today's session, we will finally be moving on to our third type of major tissue, which is our muscle tissue. So before we dive into what muscle tissue is and what's its characteristics and features, first let's have a mini review of all the other tissues that we have talked about so far. So of course, during the start of the second half of the semester, we talked about the epithelial tissue and we learned that there are two subtypes of the epithelial tissue, right? One is your lining epithelial tissue and the other one is your glandular tissue. And we learned at least for the lining epithelium, they can be found whenever there is a lumen or an opening or a surface within an organ or body part, because this would be the tissue that would have your closely packed cells on top of a basement membrane. And of course, the glandular tissue is just a variation of this lining epithelium we're in. This lining epithelium actually invaginated deeper into the deeper layers of the tissue, and then their primary function, instead of for protection and passage of nutrients, is for the production and secretion of substances. And we learned that in the glandular type of epithelial tissue there's a lot of subcategories and subclassifications because there are multiple ways by which these different glands are organized and how their secretory units are shaped. Okay, and then for the connective tissue, we spent three meetings so far for the connective tissue, and then we learned that the connective tissue's main function is to connect the other types of major tissues to one another, as well as to connect connective tissue to connective tissue. Okay, and since there are a such a big variability in the location and functional capacity of the organs where we can find this connective tissue, we realize that there are many types of connective tissue. Some of them are squishy or jelly-like. Some of them are so hard, as with your supportive tissues. The squishy and jelly-like would be your loose or dense connective tissue under your adult proper connective tissue. We also learned that we can also describe connective tissue in terms of when we can find them, such as we have the embryonal connective tissue, and then under embryonal connective tissue, we would have further subtypes depending on which specific part of the embryo you can see them, right? We have your mesenchymal, which is found basically all over the embryonic um, body, but in the umbilical cord, you would have your mucoid connective tissue, okay? So don't forget that. And then you would have your loose and dense versions of your adult proper connective tissues. We learned that the loose connective tissue would have more cells, while the dense would have more fibers, and in this dense type of connective tissues would have different subtypes depending on how the high amount of fibers within it are organized, etc. And then lastly, we talked about the specialized type of connective tissue, the super hard ones such as your supportive, aka your bone and cartilage, and the so ultra fluid ones, which is your hematopoietic or blood forming connective tissue, as well as your actual adult mature peripheral blood. Okay? Then the remaining tissue that we will discuss for today, at least for today, would be your muscle tissue. Okay, your nervous tissue, we will be talking more about this in another session. So at least for this topic, we would have our muscle tissue, which is quite very easy to differentiate from one another, and it's very simple because there are just three major types, as you can see here. Okay, all right. So in this images, we have already talked about some of these building blocks. So for example, for this one, this is your epithelial tissue, epithelial, connective tissue, right? More on the supportive type. Connective tissue still adult, proper, loose, your adipose tissue, areolar tissue, and then we have here our another version of our lining epithelium. So for today, we will be focusing on this, and this. So these are actually your different types of your muscle tissue. So in here, you would see that your muscle tissue is usually seen on the deeper layers of your organs, as with this section through your skin. So you can see that this is your muscle tissue. We already finished talking about your connective tissue here and your epithelial connective tissue here. In this section through a hollow organ, you can see that the muscle tissue is somewhere here in these layers, because before this tissue and this tissue, we have already talked about it, right? Of course, this tissue which lines the lumen of your hollow organs, it would be your epithelial type. And then this squishy soft tissue would be the connecting tissue, the connective tissue that connects your lining epithelium with your muscle tissue. Okay? The muscle tissue is composed of cells, and the term for your muscle tissue is myocyte. Okay? So cyte still means cells, and myo usually pertains to anything that has something to do with muscle. Okay? Within these myocytes, which are elongated in nature, would be your myofibrils. These very thin structures are further divided into two types. You have your actin as well as your myosin. So the actin myofibril is the thinner among the two, while the myosin myofibril is the thicker out of the two. Okay? And these two myofibrils, your actin and your myosin, you can actually see them, especially in the skeletal muscle tissue. They are arranged in a specific manner such that there is a formation of your bands, alternating bands. And if you will see these bands in light microscope, you can see them as striations or stripes. So you can see that the actin is located here, while the middle part has your myosin. And then, because of their orderly arrangement, we can actually see your sarcomere, which is from one Z disc to another Z disc. And this presence of your sarcomeres and these different bands, because of the orderly arrangement of your myofibrils, gives your striated muscle its striated look. Okay? So here you can see that depending on the status of your muscle fiber, if it is stretched, then you can see that the bands produced by your thin filaments are wider, and then as this muscle cells are contracting, then the bands, the light bands, which contains your thin filaments, will become thinner. Okay? Aside from these myocytes, which have your myofibrils, you would also have the connective tissue, which actually organizes your myocytes into fascicles and the bundles, okay? So you would have your epi, peri, and then your endomysium, okay? So the endomysium is basically the smallest unit of connective tissue covering that actually surrounds each muscle fiber. Okay, so that's the connective tissue made up of collagen fibers, almost like your dense white fibrous connective tissue. So the first layer will be your endomysium surrounding your muscle fiber, and then a group of muscle fibers surrounded by your endomysium is further surrounded by another layer of your connective tissue, which would be termed as your perimysium. So this perimysium, this would be the one which creates your muscle fascicles, or your bundles of muscle fibers. Okay, and then a group of muscle fascicles surrounded by your perimysium is further covered with a thicker version of your DWFCT, and this would be your epimysium. So grossly, especially for those who are taking up gross anatomy, baby, you've already encountered epimysium, because a technical term for it, especially in the term of gross anatomy, would be fascia. Yes, so if you will remember, fascia is the white covering surrounding the bellies or the heads of your muscle. So yan siya. That would be your fascia. Okay? So again, from the endo, peri, and epimysium, all of those are actually connective tissue that organizes the muscle fibers of your muscle tissue. Aside So this is a histological image of it. Usually in histological sections of your muscle tissue, it's only the perimysium and the endomysium that is seen, uh, because the fascia is not usually included. But I think you should try examining all our actual slides in the laboratory. I think some of them would have your epimysium. A key um, feature of your epimysium is it would be the thickest out of all the three sublevels of connective tissue. Okay, and of course, the endomysium is the one that is immediately surrounding each muscle fiber or myocyte, and it is best appreciated when viewing a cross-sectional view of your tissue section. Okay. And then finally, aside from the cells and the connective tissue, which organizes your muscle fibers into sub-bundles and main bundles, we would also have the presence of your blood vessels and nerves, which play a role in maintaining the function and contraction and relaxation of your muscles, as well as in the provision of transport of nutrients and other metabolic substances needed by your muscle in order to function correctly. So, what makes muscle tissue special among all the other types of your major tissues? No, first is its ability to contract. So, contractility. So, earlier we saw that the myofibrils located within each muscle cell is actually organized, at least for your striated muscles, in a very specific manner. This is so because there we have the sliding filament theory, in which this allows the movement of your whole muscle fiber through the action or the sliding of your um, thick and thin filaments. While for the smooth muscle tissue, the key difference between your smooth muscle tissue versus your striated, aka your skeletal or cardiac, is that there are no formations of sarcomeres and there is no sliding filament theory, because instead of your organized sarcomeres, you would have your dense bodies spread throughout your spindle-shaped muscle tissue. And here, you can see that the contraction is not unidirectional. So there is a collective contraction of the muscle instead of an actual lengthening or shortening. Okay? Here. Next is excitability. So the muscle fibers has this special ability to be easily excited by signals from the nervous system. In fact, it is this signal from the neurons attached to your muscles which actually tells your muscle cells to activate its contraction or its lengthening. Okay? Next is its extensibility. If your muscle tissue or muscle cells can contract or shorten, it is also able to extend. Okay? For the development of muscle tissue, basically, almost all of your muscle tissues come from the middle layer of your germ layer, which is your mesoderm. And as the embryo develops, its mesoderm will become more and more specified, and it will have subdivisions. And here you can see that depending on the type of your muscle tissue, you would have different specific parts of your mesoderm or ectoderm that will give rise to it. The key point is that majority of your skeletal muscle tissue will actually come from the paraaxial mesoderm, or the mesoderm that eventually will turn into your somites. Okay? And this cardiac and most of your smooth muscles will also come from your mesoderm, but a very specific subdivision. So this would be your from the lateral plate mesoderm, specifically parietal or visceral, depending on where the specific smooth muscle tissue is found. So depending on which organ, okay? But usually, most smooth muscle will be found in your tubular or hollow organs, except for the heart, which is technically also a hollow organ. But this time, the heart would have a very special type of muscle, your cardiac muscle, which builds most of the cardiac wall, or if not most, all of the cardiac wall. Okay, and some smooth muscles not found in your hollow organs will actually come from ectoderm, because this will be the main germ layer which actually produces that specific organ, such as your eyes, or if it is a part of your if it's a minor smooth muscle tissue interspersed in an epithelial type of tissue, which is epithelial tissue comes from your ectoderm, right? So, in essence, muscle tissue is mostly coming from your mesoderm germ layer. Okay, so let's move on to the different types of muscle tissue. So we have three types. The first type will be your skeletal or your voluntary type of your muscle tissue. So your skeletal type of muscle tissue is usually the one that is found connected to our bones. And its main purpose is to assist us in the posture and in doing our voluntary movements and other fine movements. The key point is um, skeletal muscles usually need conscious control in order for it to contract or relax. Okay. Next, we have our smooth type of muscle tissue, which, unlike your skeletal muscle, is involuntary, and it is usually found in hollow organs in your GIT also. Basically, it produces long and sustained contractions that is not consciously controlled. Another type of an involuntary type of muscle tissue would of course be your cardiac muscle. So this is the third and final type of your muscle tissue, and coming from its name, the cardiac muscle is the one that is forming the walls of your heart. So the cardiac muscle is of course involuntary. It has a rhythmic contractions that is perpetual, because of course you cannot tell your heart when to start and stop contracting. Okay, more rhythmic and more quicker, as opposed to the um, long and sustained contractions of your smooth muscle, which basically makes sense because within the GIT area, on areas which would need your smooth muscle tissue, it is we don't really need a very fast type of contractions, because it's not blood that we are trying to propel from the heart as with your cardiac muscle into the blood vessels. It would be the ingesta that is located within the GIT, which doesn't necessarily need to be propelled from the GIT in a quick manner as your blood. Okay. So for the features, first for the skeletal muscle would have the thickest version of skeletal cells or myocytes. What else? It is striated like your cardiac muscle, and the key feature is that it is multinucleated. So among the three types of muscle tissues, it's only the skeletal muscle which has multiple nuclei in one muscle fiber or cell. And key point is it has striations. Okay, and it has the thickest um, fibers out of the three types of muscle tissue. Okay, and here you can see multinucleated, and the nuclei are located at the periphery of each muscle fiber. And here in this section, you can see that here you would have your perimetrium and your endometrium. Okay, do not forget to identify the connective tissue elements of your muscle tissue that we have talked about earlier. Okay, and it is usually seen in the parts of body that we can voluntary control, and this is the one that usually allows our bones to move. Okay, attached to bone or other connective tissues. Okay, for the smooth muscle tissue, the shape is not cylindrical. It is now spindle shape. So as we said earlier, when we say spindle shape, these myocyte cells are tapered, okay, on the ends. And you can see that this time there is only one nuclei per one cell, and it is centrally located. Okay, as such, you can see that a cross-section view of your smooth muscle tissue is very different or distinct from your skeletal muscle tissue. And here you can see, depending on where the myocyte has been cut off, if the cell has been cut off on the tapered end, you wouldn't even see the nuclei. But if you cut it somewhere in the middle, you will be able to see the nuclei. Again, this type of tissue is usually found lining hollow organs such as the stomach, intestine, skin, and eyes, and it is usually involuntary in nature. The type on of contraction is very slow and sustained. Okay, not only in hollow organs, can also be found in the skin. So you would have your arrector pili muscles, which we will also be talking about more in detail in Beta 106 when we talk about the skin as an organ. But for now, the smooth muscle type of muscle tissue is easily observed in the walls of your hollow organs such as your intestines. Okay. Finally, for the final type of your muscle tissue, we would have your cardiac tissue. So again, the cardiac tissue is only found in the heart because even the walls of your blood vessels, they are made up of your smooth muscle tissue. But for the walls of your heart, you would have your cardiac muscle tissue. It is somewhat like the characteristic features of your cardiac is like in between of your skeletal and smooth. First is it is involuntary because of course you cannot really control when your heart will pump, right? These fibers are shorter than your skeletal muscle, and the key feature is its muscle cells of your cardiac tissue is branching in nature. It is branched. So it is the only type of muscle tissue that has a branching shape. But like your skeletal muscle tissue, it is also striated. Okay, again, the only non-striated type of muscle tissue would be your smooth muscle tissue. Okay, but even if it's striated, it is still involuntary, controlled involuntarily. And like your smooth muscle tissue, there is only one nucleus at the center of each cardiac tissue muscle fiber. So here you can see that it kind of looks like your smooth muscle cross-sectionally, but of course there is a somewhat different arrangement of the fibers. And another key feature of your cardiac muscle cells would be the presence of your intercalated discs. So this one. So this intercalated disc will be the very tight connections in between one cardiac muscle cell and another cardiac muscle cell. The key primary function of this intercalated disc would be so that there will be a unison in the collective contraction of your cardiac muscle cells. Okay, so if one cardiac muscle cell contracts, all the other cardiac muscle cells will also contract because they are easily communicating with one another via this intercalated discs. Okay, that is a key feature of your cardiac muscle cell. Again, it is only seen in the heart and it is under involuntary or unconscious control, and its pattern of contracting is more rhythmic and more frequent than that of your involuntary smooth muscle cell. Okay, so again, that's it. So you just have your skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle tissue. You would have your striated for your skeletal and cardiac. You would have your multinucleated for your skeletal. You would have your involuntary type of muscle tissue for your smooth and cardiac, and only the skeletal muscle would be your voluntary type or consciously controlled. So basically, that's it. But for cardiac tissue, there is an additional type of special cardiac tissue wherein you will find this underneath the endothelial layer of your uh, interventricular wall. So here, so I think we actually have sections of this in the laboratory. So please make sure to try to find your special cardiac cells, which has a name in some references. They call it as your Purkinje fibers. So these are your Purkinje fibers. These Purkinje fibers look quite different from your typical or normal cardiac muscle cells because each muscle fiber is more plump and there are less myofibrils within it. Thus, you can see that the central area of your Purkinje or special cardiac muscle cell is lighter in nature because it needs more space, not for fibrils, not for contraction, but for the presence of your mitochondria so that it would have enough power to initiate and to maintain the pumping action of the heart. So basically, these fibers of the heart are your electrical pumps or stimulators that communicate with the normal type of cardiac muscles so that they will know when to contract and when to relax. So again, if I may say, these Purkinje fibers look like big, plump versions of your smooth muscle cells because there is a um, centrally located nuclei and little bit the myofibrils are just located at the peripheral area. So we have actual slides of this in the laboratory, so please make sure to view them when you have the chance. Again, you can see the Purkinje fibers are relatively quite thicker than your uh, typical uh, cardiac uh, muscle tissue. So this is your cardiac muscle tissue, and this would be your Purkinje or special cardiac muscle tissue. Okay. So again, the main difference is that your skeletal muscle tissue would have the thickest versions of muscle fiber. Then we would have your smooth muscle tissue, and then you would have your cardiac muscle tissue. Okay, striated muscle tissue would be your skeletal and cardiac, while your smooth, again, is not striated because you do not have the orderly arrangement of your myofibrils, actin, and myosin. Okay, so and lastly, just to make us realize the um, big disparity in the possible sizes of these different types of muscle cells. You can see here, of course, the biggest muscle cell that we can find is within the skeletal muscle, which holds true, right? Imagine if you, I don't know if you guys enjoy eating corned beef or any meat, and you can see that you can actually see the smallest unit of the fibers, and those fibers would be your actual muscle cells, right? You can still see it with your naked eye. Okay, so it's quite big. And then in comparison, the cardiac muscle is shorter and quite um, smaller in diameter as compared with your muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue. While as for the smooth muscle tissue, it can be very small as with areas of the body that needs the support or contraction of your smooth muscle tissue, which would be very small as with your arterioles or the very small arteries. And then, for example, in the intestines, it can be a little bit bigger. And finally, if, for example, in the walls of the uterus, especially if the uterus is pregnant, then you would have an extremely long and larger versions of your smooth muscle tissue. So again, this is just to make you appreciate that um, especially in the case of smooth muscle tissue, there is a possibility of great disparity in the length and size of the actual muscle cells. Okay, so muscle tissue is quite straightforward, and make sure that when you are in the laboratory, you are able to recognize the different types of muscle tissue in the longitudinal view as well as in the cross-sectional view. Okay, so that's all for this session's topic. Do not forget to answer the attendance log tracker for this session. Thank you.